Attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to our third webinar, I believe, with Chris Abraham. It's February 6th and still very cold outside. DC has not gotten any snow, and I feel for anybody that is in the Boston area. But today we've got Chris going over one of the most popular websites out there, but I think one that few people know very much about from a management standpoint. And today, Chris is going to go over the basics of how do you manage your own Wikipedia page or your company's Wikipedia page or a client's Wikipedia page. And so, Chris, welcome on board again, and I'm going to make you the presenter.
Thank you. Show my screen. There we go. Can you see it?
Yes, we can now.
Cool. Hello, everyone. I welcome you to today's webinar. I was going to say podcast because we were just talking about Mike Marin. This is a step-by-step instruction guide on how to manage your Wikipedia page. Hashtag Wikiman, that just came to me, and then all of a sudden I started to think about Mr. Taliman, tally me bananas, but Wikiman is good enough. You can Twitter me, you can tweet me at Chris Abraham. I'm accessible at Google+, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Don't forget hashtag Wikiman. So before I go any further, I just want to let you know that Wikipedia Management is code for any type of like editing pages, creating pages, responding to edits or attacks. It seems like everybody's come down to calling Wikipedia anything, especially when it's done through an agency or a consultant or a contractor or an expert. Anything besides manager or management sounds nefarious. Now I'm going to go through a number of slides today and then into live desktop to kind of show you that if you do it correctly and don't come from a place of being shady, there are a lot of things that you can do in Wikipedia, because at the end of the day, Wikipedia hungers for more content. The only way there's ever any new content on Wikipedia is via Wikipedian. So I'm going to encourage you to become a Wikipedian. My name is Chris Abraham. I'm principal consultant at Garris, and part of what I do there is consult people on this thing called Wikipedia Management. I'm a little bit painted into a corner today because nobody who hires me wants me to share the Wikipedia pages I edit. I'm going to share one that I helped my friend Elizabeth Leamy put together, but aside from that, I need to keep it discreet. I'm an avid blogger, contributor to the Huffington Post and socialmedia.biz, Biznology, and the beloved Social Media Monthly and Startup Monthly. So I have a Wikipedia philosophy, okay? Now, these bullet points are very important to me because I've been on Wikipedia since 2005, and I've been spanked again and again for being too shilly or being too self-promotional or trying to create my own content for myself. It's so bad that they give you a free place to put your own personal user information, your user page. Even that was considered too self-promotional by Wikipedians, and that got deleted. So I made every mistake in the last 15 or 16 years. I think it's 2005, and I'd like to share the benefit of that with you. Shoot your inner used car salesman. Selling, marketing, promoting, evangelizing, or persuading is strictly verboten. Wikipedia is a community first. All entries are byproducts of the community of Wikipedians. Wikipedians are a volunteer army of proofreaders, of peer reviewers, of editors, and of content creators. It's amazing. It's almost magical. I was hoping it would happen with the Wikipedia entry that I put together for you guys, but it hasn't yet. But If you go in and you create a half-assed Wikipedia page that doesn't have all the bells, whistles, and formatting, and it's a worthwhile entry, you'll see within a day, people will come in and start making your entry better. But as part of that, as the part of the fact that you're surrounded by these magical elves known as Wikipedians, is that you're under 24-hour strict peer review. So even if you decide to make your controversial edits on a Sunday at 0:30, there's probably an English speaker in Berlin who's up and awake, or someone in Moscow who is fluent in English and is awake, and it's their sphere of influence and interest, and they get an alert and they come back and they engage you. So at the end of the day, no matter whether you register, no matter whether you register real name or create a nom de plume, or whether you don't even sign in at all and edit using anonymously, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, citations speak for themselves. So anytime anyone wants to get on Wikipedia, I put them through an exhaustive process of finding a citation for every single sentence that they put into their page, and that citation needs to be a third-party reference. Citations speak for themselves. If you have never been in grad school or college or PhD, and you haven't had to defend a thesis, and you've never written a scientific journal article or white paper where you need to cite all of your references, you need to learn now, because it's if they smell a rat, you're done for. Sometimes they'll give you benefit of the doubt and give you an opportunity to fix yourself, but that is dependent really on the interest of the particular administrators and Wikipedians in the content that you're offering. Don't try to do everything at once. Break it down. Sometimes people go ahead and, like, there's two ways of building a city, right? There is the way London did it, which is start with a wee little village, and over a couple thousand years, you've got a mass metropolis. You need to spend 10 years, I made that number up, but I bet you I could sell it. You need to spend 10 years studying maps before you become a cabbie in London, because these streets are so completely unpredictable. Whereas Paris and New York City were planned cities after the initial village. They were created with circles. DC as well, with roundabouts or with grid formats, and so I don't believe that the best way to create a Wikipedia article is the planned city, the Washington, D.C. planned circles and northwest, southeast, etc. I believe that you need to start a new article as small as possible to be viable, and then grow it organically over time. I'll tell you why that's important. Spoiler alert, people, editors, reviewers, Wikipedians, they can undo edits, and the more edits that you create to create, if you will, a small little ball of mud or clay, and then you create a very big ball, it's hard to kind of dig down. Really, I mean, they can go all the way to the first post and undo it from the beginning. But in many ways, people's mistakes are incremental, but if you create an entire Wikipedia page at once, post it, and then hit submit, it's more likely that you won't even realize the kind of mistakes that you're making. And it will just hit a brick wall. And then don't give up. Here's the biggest lesson that you can learn. People get spooked on Reddit and Wikipedia because there's people out there who call them on their BS. Like, when it comes to most environments of marketing, PR, and advertising, nobody calls them on their BS. And there are very bold people who are protected by prestige and by anonymity that they can come in and they can shut your party down. Now, that doesn't mean if you're acting shady and you're like, oh, well, you know, like if you sit down, if you open a bottle of wine on the mall and a cop walks over, you don't try to play that off. You're like, I'm not supposed to be drinking wine at my picnic in the middle of a federal park. So you're like, you either try to play it off really cool and hide it in a stainless steel bottle, or you quickly see the cop around and you're like, okay, Joe, run over there and throw it in the garbage, or you pack your entire picnic up and leave. Like the way animals respond to shady, Wikipedians respond to shady. So if you get pushback for citations, for references, for shameless self-promotion, to being self-referential, and to even making mistakes with formatting, it can be as simple as that. Be persistent. There are ways of appealing, and I'll talk about that more in a second. Who and what should and shouldn't be on Wikipedia? Because Wikipedia demands third-party citations, not everyone can be on Wikipedia. I'm not on Wikipedia, though I frickin' tried. So unless you are already notable, you should either reconsider or start working on getting yourself some worthwhile earned media mentions. You know, and if those mentions don't show up on Google News, they're probably not good enough. But that's not always the case, you know, like if you get your friend to mention something about you on Medium, who knows if that would be considered good enough. It really depends on the quality of content that you're delivering. If it's shady, you better have really solid citations and references. What or who should have its own Wikipedia entry? Literally anything under the sun that can be substantiated through a number of verified citations. This isn't a popularity contest, it's an encyclopedia. Wikipedia needs content, but it doesn't need ads, it doesn't need shill, it doesn't need promos, right? And if you're not money enough to become part of your own page, to make your own page, to create your own brand experience, become part of someone else's page. If your project doesn't warrant a page of your own, you can develop your brand on other pages. Think about becoming part of a bunch of other pages. Becoming part of Wikipedia is incremental, so bide your time. The pros and cons of being in Wikipedia. Pro, universally accepted as an important part of being somewhere online, right? Pro, lazy journalists, all journalists and writers generally rely on what they find out online about you, and Wikipedia is the first place they look. Students too, you can literally become part of culture through K through postdoc, all the way to, you know, lawyers and doctors and journalists and bloggers, through building up equity on Wikipedia. Pro, generally speaking, your Wikipedia page shows up above the fold on organic search. So if you have a reputation problem and you want to dominate the first 10 pages of Google, having a Wikipedia page is frigging awesome, because it'll be up there at the top amongst your Twitter and Facebook and your own personal .com site or page, your blog. Pro, if there's a link to your sites, the impact from Wikipedia, the impact of a link from Wikipedia carries a lot of juice. I would definitely see a Wikipedian would come in and fix that sentence for me, because if there's a link to your sites, the impact of a link from Wikipedia carries a lot of juice. It's just bad grammar. They'll also call you out on grammar. Like they aspire to be an academic worthy encyclopedia, not just, oh, you found it on Wikipedia. So anyway, a con. And unfortunately, shady cons are most attracted to Wikipedia. Don't do it. If you're controversial, a douchebag, unkind or unfair, Wikipedia makes it worse, not better. So step 2, where did step 1 go? Well, I jumped the gun to step 2, become a Wikipedian. Register for your own account. Your Wikipedia account is your own. You're now Wikipedian, ! It's a lifetime membership, sure to outlast your current position. Yes, you can edit anonymously, don't do it. Now, you should own your account. Like, you shouldn't just create an account for your company. You should own your own account. Maybe not do some edits of that or whatever, but you definitely should start building your Wikipedia cred, because at the end of the day, it's important. Now, whether you do real name or nom de plume is up to you. Like, my nom de plume is my name. It's Chris Abraham, all one word. A lot of other people have, you know, the same kind of handles they'd have on Twitter or on message boards. It doesn't require a real name, and real name doesn't matter, honestly. The quality of your work, it's a meritocracy. You can call yourself like Goo Eyeballs 32, and you might be the best expert on optometry. And then put together a really nice user page. Mine's terrible because my first elaborate version was self-promotional, so they even nixed my user page. So go neutral, informational, and factual. But if you get in this far, look at some other people's user pages. They're phenomenal. Some of the best editors have graphics and buttons, and they all look like 1993 era websites. But the meritocracy lasts until you reach something. You know how like forums have post counts as a form of prestige, and Twitter has number of followers versus ratio of people you follow, etc. Well, Wikipedia has two metrics: how like three maybe, what kind of editor you are, how awesome your user page is, and how many edits you've done. So that's kind of like user count. Wiki markup language, let me tell you something first. If you turn on beta tools, or maybe it comes without beta tool access, there's a really beautiful WYSIWYG rich text editor that they have now that changes everything. But knowing a little bit of wiki markup language can really help you. My advice is go ahead and have anybody write anything for you based on the shilly awful like crap that they get off the website. Put into a Word document, remove all awful you know, formatting, and then go through and try to reformat it using Wikipedia markup language, and start to break it apart and start to rationalize why this shilly sentence needs to come out and why you should replace it with something more balanced. Simple wiki markup language, 2 equals before and after a phrase is a category heading. 3 is a level 2 heading, which is sort of like H2. Level 3 is H3, 4 equal signs. And then simple link within Wikipedia is bracket, open bracket, link, and then close bracket, close bracket. I think I did it, I'm sure, but I'm a little bit insecure now. Open bracket, exact Wikipedia page, like virtual teen challenge with a pipe, and then to what you would call it. Bracket is a way of kind of linking to something internally within Wikipedia, but then sort of changing it. Like if you were to say, wanting to link to a page about the Ironman triathlon or triathlon, you could then make open bracket, triathlon or Ironman triathlon, pipe, triathlete, close bracket, and it should link fine. Italic is 2 single quotes, and 2 single quotes, and bold is 3. References are like, oops, I think I made a mistake with open and close. I think I got no, it works. Reference is an open and close tag. I didn't put it on the first one. So open reference and then shut the tag reference, and things like reference and cite and then close reference. If you look up here on I'll show you some real ones, but there's an elaborate way of defining your references, the same kind of strict follow through you need to do with regards to any academic page. For one thing, Wikipedia does understand a variety of date formats, but generally relies on international formats. If you want to create a US-based format, you need to spell it out, like February 6, 2015. there's a lot of pipes or vertical bars. There's a lot of equals. There's a lot of curly brackets. You'll become more and more familiar. There are different types of citations. There's books. There's journals. Most of the time we'll be using web. Most of the time we'll be using things like news, etc. I'll show you some of those later. And then there's external links. External links are frowned upon. There's generally only one at the end of a page at a section of its own called external links. Generally, the format for that is curly bracket, external link, pipe, and then the URL to that. You could put anything you want an external link, like concept to official homepage, and then have it linked to http://concept2.com. Like I said, the Wikipedia Rich Text Editor beta is awesome. Yes, it is great, but if you don't learn Wikipedia markup language, you'll get stuck over and over again. So this is actually an editable page, even though it looks exactly like the page that I made this morning for this webinar. I'm still a big guy. Just ask Bob. Like, I'm a huge man, but for the last 31 days, all of January, I took part in a virtual team challenge using Concept 2 rowing ergometers, and I competed with, I think, 5,761 other people internationally, and ended up being 605th place.
Hey,
with,
Chris.
I think.
Chris.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt, and you're not that large of a man.
No.
But I have a question from Lauren.
Sure. Happy to.
Why are external links frowned upon?
Well, because as a result of black hat SEO practices, Wikipedia is one of the most important sites on the planet, and it's very restrictive in terms of the amount of link juice or external links that it can give to a site. And it has this worldwide conspiracy of peer reviewers. So as a result, there's always this concept and this belief deep down every Wikipedian that entire pages worth hundreds of hours by companies are elaborate artifices in order to just drop one link to a lawyer's firm that really wants to be more competitive in organic search. So they would prefer. There's tons of links that are included, but they're included in citations and references, and they're not necessarily they don't work the same way, but they're definitely recognized by Google. So if you're doing things right and you're being proper, you can get the same reward of that external link by finding clever ways of including the properties that you would like to have linked to be included in your citations or references, as long as they're solid. I would say that as a sacrifice for all the work you do, as sacrifice for all the work one does, in general, commercial enterprises do get that one external link. Concept 2, the company that sponsors this challenge, and creates all of those rowing ergometers that you see in colleges and CrossFit and at the gym, they get one link that goes to the official, no, they have 3 links, I think. One goes to concept2.com, one goes to concept2.co.uk. And I think there's one more that goes somewhere else. But they're judiciously used, and any abuse will be handled very, very aggressively. Does that answer your question? Was it Laura?
Yes, Chris, it was from Laura. I'll see if she texts me back. And
please interrupt me anytime you want with questions. But to go back to this, this is all live stuff. Let me go forward and I'll give you a live example. It's great if you see there's menu, pull-down menus for insert, menu for bullet list, menu for citation, menu for link, menu for different types of But as you know, like if you ever do CSS or HTML, if you get really good at the code, at HTML5 or CSS or whatever, it's oftentimes quicker, but this is really fun. And what I'll do is I'll code by hand and then go in and look at it and maybe even like add extra internal links as a way of just kind of optimizing things and making things better and more readily stitched into the rest of Wikipedia. All right, so this is important, guys, because this is where everybody in our space totally wimps out. Persistence is always rewarded. Like I said, I get a lot of pushback. Some of my clients are very controversial. I will order books that like the enemy has referenced. I'll order it off of Wikipedia. I'll like photograph those pages. I'll like upload it to Imgur, and I'll like, you know, reference that. I'll say it doesn't say that on the page because, you know, it's a really great way to make citations onto physical books that people don't have ready reference to. That's a great, you know, that's a good idea for you guys too. Find, you know, arcane books and reference them, and I bet you most Wikipedians won't refer to that, but I will. And I buy the book, you know, $3 off of Amazon, and I go through the page and I see the page it's referenced to, and I'm like, no, that's not right. And so don't be afraid if someone calls you out. They're not sending you to the gulag. What you do next will send yourself to the gulag. They're just doing their job. They're not getting paid. They're really not just trying to make your life tough, though it really feels that way. If you'll see on the right, there's a screen capture of like tons and tons of back in like different edits and so forth. I can put the history down. I should have copied and pasted putting the history down, but I'm not the only one who edited, you know, the pages that I edit. A lot of other people come in there and undo whole sections, and I'll go in and I will follow. I will go through the appeal process. If you ever hit that, Google will throw up a box, and in that box they'll give you all the details you need to run the appeal. Please follow protocol and try to like first talk to the person who made the edit, and then you can go over his head, and then you can appeal the big kahunas. Learn the rules and be willing to push back. If you're in the right, there are a number of ways to contest an appeal undos and deletions. Here's the thing, guys. There's shifting sands. No matter what you do, the Wikipedians have as much ownership of your own content as you do. Most of the time, they improve pages in ways you cannot imagine. Sometimes they'll reformat it in a way that is just as good but entirely different. Go with the flow, but keep vigilant because, you know, I have high-profile clients, and 6 months from now, there might be a huge number of crazy edits, and I need to be one of the first people to know about that so that I can go to my client and say, hey, this is happening. I need you to give me 15 hours to address this, 20 hours to address this, 10 hours or whatever. Do I have your approval? And then I give them, I personally, I work on Word documents. Are you still there?
Yes, Chris,
we're still there?
Yeah, I just had myself on mute.
I had an incoming call. I'm sorry. So what I do personally is I take a Word document, I find out what they want changed, I create a version of the change that I would like to pass through, and then I create what's called a rationalization and a note. Well, actually three. One number is risk, one number is rationalization, and one number is one level is note. And I do that all before any changes are committed, so that I can go ahead and rewrite it the way I feel Wikipedia might accept it. And then I get clients' approval before I make that change. But I give them two or three risk possibilities, or I will give them a path to the final choice, and I will suggest 3 or 4 edits over 30 days in order to get to that choice. Because at the end of the day, we're under peer review, and you need to follow protocol. You also need to compromise. All right, so instead of final words, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go and look at some of these pages. So I just created this morning. It took me about 2 hours, and it was very, very simple, very basic. It's nothing very fancy, but it was as simple as deciding that after doing this row for 31 days and doing, I don't know, whatever, how many 263,000 meters. I really wanted to kind of put a Wikipedia page, not because my name is going to be on it, but because I think this is super awesome and I'm all wiggly about it. So I just created one. The Virtual Teen Challenge VTC is an online virtual ultra distance rowing competition sponsored by Concept 2, blah, blah, blah. Overview, rowing ergometers, ultra rowing competition, annual winners. Another reason why I did it is because Stephen Dobson is on my team, Team Grotto, and he rowed 2,114,436 meters over 31 days, which I think is pretty crazy. Now, what I didn't do right here, in which someone might actually should come in and edit, is the fact that I don't have the team name in my team list. So it's, it's through iterations. I will then go in there and I will edit that, right? So I don't know if I want to edit it now, but I can edit it using beta.
Hey, Chris?
Yeah?
So can you go back for a second? Because I think there's better editing. I don't know if you did this on purpose, but if you go to the, I guess the box above that, so I'm noticing that with the names and the team, that they're not very consistent. So like, position 3, Glenn R. Smith is, Glenn, and his first initials aren't capitalized.
Sure. This is the way that the particular participants made their names on the website. So you're right. Like as a careful editor, I would probably make it Glenn R. Smith, and I would say ancients and French, and here's really great. The great thing is I can now, with the WYSIWYG version, I can insert after, and I can say team name. I don't in here, I guess, since I could definitely, if I wanted to, go back here and find that information, at the other place, team challenge, French indoor rowing team. I don't want to waste anybody's time. And then etc. So then I save page, and as you guys are aware, I could write a summary, adding, fixing capitalization, and adding a missing table column. Now, that's completely transparent, completely opening. Incomplete will return. I guess oversharing is really good. It's not a minor edit, but shady people tend not to completely say what they're up to. So making a point of trying to explain, rationalize, or appeal, and I would, if push comes to shove, you'll see other people's rationalizations, and they're very concise and short, and they almost seem like they come out of a code book. If you don't know that double secret mystery Martian code, go verbatim. Go verbose. Like explain in triplicate the changes that you're willing to make. Now, if you'll see, we all know from looking at Wikipedia before, behind that beautiful Wikipedia facade, there is, a lot of different things. Like, for example, let's edit, go to the article, edit source. as you know, you can recognize some of the things like this is boldface from the triple dashes, but even this has some pretty great tools. Like, for example, this is references. So if you wanted to make a reference here, Chris is a rower, you might want to go to citations, oops, advanced, blah, 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 blah. Site, here we are. You would want to call that a cite the web, news, book, or journal. Cite the web, Abraham, Chris. Generally, when you do the web, you don't need this. Title would be Chris is a rower. URL, Chris is a fatrower.com. Website, Chris is a fat rower. Access date is today. And if you'll see, that's the format, natural format. Publisher, Big Boy LLC. And then pretty much that's it. So you could insert that, and all of the citation is created for you. You need to know how citation looks just in case there's corruption in the text. Of course, I'm not going to include that, but it's as simple as that. Even when you're in the text editor, you have the ability to simply, highlight something, online virtual distance rowing competition. You could click that, it'll automatically put 2 single quotes, which would result in italicization. Anyway, so it's pretty easy. And what I did is over the course of this morning, I created the basic part of it, which is this top part, overview, and then this part with the winners, right? And then I didn't notice that I didn't have team names, but now I know what it's now. Takes a village to do a Wikipedia entry. I would have everything prepared and edited and checked with multiple people in the client before I moved forward. And then I came with this stuff, and then I'm like, oh man, Darlene, what's her name? Darlene Brennan is freaking awesome. She's like 71 years old and rowed over 3 million meters. I thought I would talk about ultra rowing. And so as I thought of different aspects to the sport, I started adding it. People wonder about things like categories. If you'll see here, there's categories, rowing competitions, recurring sporting events, and online gaming services. That's silly. I stole it from other sources. I went over to Concept 2 and I went to Indoor Rower, and I stole other people's categories. And it certainly isn't, I guess it's online gaming services. But I had a number more in here. Like, I do think people are making changes now. So let me show you history. There we are. Silly Folk Boy. He removed all non-relevant, existent, superfluous categories. So other people are already coming around and making changes. I'm going to thank him because I'm not shady. So I send a thank you for the edit. And that helps me better ingratiate myself with the other participants. Here's another entry. Please, any questions that might come up, please don't hesitate. Here's another entry I did for my friend Elizabeth, who's willing to share. She is an investigative correspondent for the Dr. Oz show. She's done Good Morning America. She has 13 Emmy Awards. And she's got this little block out here that is very useful, and used to have a picture of her, but she didn't own the copyright of that photograph. So the copyright people came around and said, if you can't prove the copyright of this photo, we have to delete it. So currently there is no photo. We will get a photo that Elizabeth owns copyright for, and we'll move forward on that. But until then, or I could take a picture of her and have the copyright. There's a lot of information that you can do here. The great news is back in the day, these pull box here, was really difficult. This info box was really difficult to deal with. What I would do is I would go to someone who is similar to Elizabeth. I'd copy and paste it and adapt it to what I wanted to do. But with the edit this page beta, you can edit right here in line. Like, you can just go right here and you can fill out the box and then apply changes, and you can do completely beautiful form-based info box, which I find is very valuable. But at the end of the day, it's important to check source. It's very important also, even if it's just a person, especially if it's a person, because you'll see here, this article must adhere to the biographies of living persons policy, even if it's not a biography, because it contains material about living persons. Contentious material about living persons that is unsourced or poorly sourced must be removed immediately from the article in its talk page, especially if potentially libelous. If such material is repeatedly inserted or if you have other concerns, please report the issue to this notice board. So while you're going through there, even though this is a person, and I actually have her agreement to help work on this, I made sure that there are probably more references on this personal page, look at that, than you've ever than like might exist on scientific research. That's one person's reference. If you can't support that kind of reference for an individual, your individual is not engaging in the world enough. You can reference things like mentions on corporate boards. You can mention references such as even things like marathon times, 5Ks, 10Ks, walks. Just make sure that you collect as many third-party references. References to his own properties are not viable. Yes?
So I have another question. I've got a question and Lauren's got a question. But first,
Sure.
Alberto wanted to thank you for the presentation and that it was very informative.
I'm glad. I hope so. I can never tell if everybody's an expert and they're like, oh gosh, I'd rather be watching YouTube.
I think we can tell if we start losing attendees, then we know we're losing people. But it's been very steady.
Good.
But Lauren had a question. Is there a limit to the amount of pictures that can be included on a page?
No, there isn't. But the only limit is that you have to, they're very careful about copyright. So this was a picture of Elizabeth Leamy taken in an official capacity at by someone she paid to make a very pretty photo of her for her business purposes. And there's an elaborate process.
I don't think we're seeing the same page you're looking at right now.
Well, I mean, that's okay. I mean, I moved on to this page because I wanted to show what it looks like to have a picture up here. So you can have, most of the pictures that happen on Wikipedia are done in the info box, as you can see here. This is a book that author Robert Fine published, and who did you say helped you a lot with the Wiki, or actually took responsibility for the Wikipedia page?
Yeah, Kathy Scott. Actually, I had absolutely zero to do with this page being created or edited. I've never touched it.
But even the world-renowned Bob Fine doesn't have his own Wikipedia page. So, and if you look down at these contributors, very few people, if ever, have like Cordelia Mendoza, Kathy Scott, Regina Holiday. Like, in a world of savvy social media gurus, you would think that Sashi would frickin' have definitely would have a Wikipedia page. So it's not as easy as all that.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
So, I think there's always been there's always this mantra that, you really have to be careful about what you read on the internet, because most of maybe what's on the internet isn't really true or substantiated. But I have a question for you. Now that you've had quite a bit of experience with Wikipedia, and you know how much pages are gone over by third parties and different people. What would you say is your comfort level um, uh, with the accuracy of what is on Wikipedia?
Well, here's where I really reveal my hand, because I've seen and I've been part of Wikipedia campaigns that have third-party links through journals and newsletters and blogs and sites that are very professional and upkept beautifully, but are obviously pay-per-post sites where the client is obviously like done an announcement, realizes that PR web isn't going to cut Wikipedia, and then pays I don't know how much money to get one of these quasi-editorial websites to post their content with an author, with a publishing date, with an ISBN, and then refer to that content as cited content. So it is so professionally done and so slick that you just really need to know what to look for. So I think that it's still not perfect. I think that there's still a lot of people who, there's enough money on the line in terms of online reputation management and brand perception that people will spend the equivalent of whatever it costs to put together a small community newspaper or online publishing platform in order to create safe harbors for third-party reference for content in Wikipedia.
So, Chris, I got a great question that just came in from Alberto. As the founder of a startup corporation, can I start a factual Wikipedia page about my company, or does it have to be started by someone else?
Everybody in the industry says doing your own Wikipedia page is writing your own death warrant. But if there are a lot of, like, let's say you've done a lot of razzle dazzle for your, you've got a Kickstarter and you've got pages on, what is that? You know this, Bob. What is the name of that place that is a kind of a Wikipedia for all the investors, all the investments?
Angel List.
Yeah, Angel List and all that other kind of stuff. So if you are blowing up the internet and people are talking about you, as long as the citations are good and as long as you can find a way of not, don't let your salesperson do it. Let your go to your librarian at your local library and hire them to rewrite it, because librarians are awesome. Or hire
you to write it.
Or hire me to do it. But the point is if your citations are good and if you're transparent about doing it, you don't even have to be transparent about doing it. You just have to make sure the citations are good, that you kill your inner salesperson, your inner used car salesman, and that you don't overshare. Oftentimes, just getting the first germination. You know what they say? Like, if you get a date, if you secure the date, don't over talk in the first date. So put a little bit of content in there, substantiate it with good citations, and hopefully over time you can hire a consultant. You can get other people in the space. You can get happy visitors to do it. But there's nothing technically against writing content for yourself, but there's everything against shilling for yourself. So that's where people generally can't help themselves, and then it blows up in their face.
So Chris, going back to my earlier question a little bit, so let's take medical information, for example. What would your confidence level be about entrusting the accuracy of medical advice or medical terminology being done on Wikipedia?
Pardon me. I think it's definitely higher and more reliable than the results you get from Google. I'm currently consulting with an organization that has a website called labtestsonline.org, and they've got every single lab test on there. They're an organization, they're sponsored, they're peer reviewed, they're edited and so forth, to the point where like half the lab tests on Wikipedia are referenced to that site organically. So I think that especially in environments like academic, historical, and current events, there is a very strong desire to get things right. Google is also interested in doing that. It's actually making things harder for resource sites and sites that suggest that they're directories or reference sites from, you have to really go out of your way to substantiate your third-party content. And since Wikipedia demands third-party content, I would definitely, like anything, I would definitely read, if you're going to use Wikipedia as a resource from anything that you would consult a doctor for, I would definitely follow up on the citations.
Hey, Chris, I've got a follow-up question from Alberto.
Sure.
Can citations come from government registration databases to verify your existence, or does it have to be based upon articles, blogs, etc., or other publications?
Anything. I think any kind of database, any kind of reference, even if it's like, technically speaking, I guess you could cite the fact that you were a Delaware company by referring to Delaware's corporate database or whatever. Like I said, any type of citation, it doesn't have to even be an online web citation. Like I said, I had to buy this book for a client that I had, actually twice. Two clients that I had demanded that I buy old books from Amazon for like under $5 each and go to the page that they referred to, take pictures of it, share it with the client, come up with a strategy, and then make smart decisions and make smart changes. And then also in the talk feature that I haven't gone into yet, which like for here, you've got need assistance in moving articles to this page. There's a place to have conversation. Let's see.
Hey, Chris, Lauren's got a question. Can you show where to sign up for page email notifications?
Yes, I actually have preferences right here. So here we are, notifications. So if you go to your site, like here I am, Chris Abraham, right? Like I'm logged in. And then I go to preferences and I click on notifications. I can say send me individual notifications as they come in to cabraham@gmail.com, email format HTML. And I can notify, is it big enough to see?
Yeah, you can go a little smaller.
Okay. Notify me about these events, top page messages, thanks, flow, mention, page link, page review, user rights change, edit, revert. That's my most important one. An education program. I don't know why that. I just show talk page message indicator in my toolbar. Then I will receive messages as soon as they happen. Changes to my watch list. I'm not going to show you my watch list because like clients and stuff, but that's where you do it, and send it to them. Don't send it to your like I use cja@well.com for my spam email. Give a proper email address. Like I could put chris@gerr.is there, but this forwards to my corporate account, my Gmail forwards. So any other questions before we wrap up?
No.
Also here, really quickly, go to beta features and make sure that automatically enable all beta features and things like hover cards and so forth. Visual editor, you need to click that to get that sweet visual editor that I was talking about, and then be sure to save. You might be in a sandbox for the first few days after you register. I believe that in preference, I can see that I'm what's called an auto-confirmed user. An auto-confirmed user is someone who is outside of the sandbox, but nobody special. And if you're using something like Tor or some other anonymizer, you have to wait 90 days and 100 edits. But if you're a regular registered user that are more than 4 days old and have made 10 edits are considered auto-confirmed. So it's worthwhile starting on other people's pages. Like, what do you love to do? I love to row on this stupid ergometer that I hated when I was a college rower, but now probably keeps me from having a heart attack. And so I went in there and I started, like, creating new content, adding to the community. Nobody can ever slight me for adding to the community. Any other questions before we wrap up?
No, that's it, Chris.
Here's all my information ad nauseum. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help you in any way. And even happier if I can bill you for it. But don't let that stop you. I'm pretty friendly and happy to answer any of your beginner questions. And thank you so much for enduring 60 minutes with me. And thank you, Bob, for giving me the opportunity to present this Wikipedia management webinar today.
Oh, always. It was actually very informative. I think very helpful for a number of people. So thank you, Chris.
Thank you for all your questions, everybody.
So we're going to wrap it up there. Thanks again for joining us. We have a webinar scheduled on February 20th about updated salary trends for creatives and social media strategists and so forth. So keep an eye out for that. And besides that, have a great week.